trained to play the piano as well. You weren't? You just picked that up?
This is my third week on the piano.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
So you never tried it up until now?
Not seriously. I've never had one. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Where did you go? You went to school at the Center of Creative Studies?
Hell no.
You didn't go there?
Hell no.
Where'd you go?
At Central High School.
I thought you went there.
Yeah, I dropped out in the third grade.
Central don't go to the third grade. Well, hello again and welcome to another episode of Candidly Speaking with Tinisha Brignoni. Today I have invited a friend of mine by the name of Efe, also known as Mary Johnson on Facebook, to teach us how he makes his famous medicinal lentil beans. All right, that's going to be something a little different, and I'm not sure if I want to partake in that, but we'll see what happens. I'm so glad that you joined me. Let's get this party started. Just a minute. Hey.
Hey, what's happening?
Nothing much. Glad you could make it. Come on in.
Yeah, I'm glad I made it too.
Yeah. You got your ingredients?
I have the elevated ingredients. Yes,
All right. Good
that?
to see you. Good to see you. All right, you just set that over there. So what are we doing now?
These are regular lentils, just ordinary lentils. I'm doing some inspection. My eyesight not as good as most people.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for in case one of these motherfuckers put pebbles or
yeah.
or forgot or rat turds or
right.
whatever. Something
so
other.
It's called pick. What we call it in my family is picking the beans.
Something other than I'm not familiar with because I'm not really kitchen literate. I just got in the kitchen a few years ago when all of these wives left me.
Oh, okay.
So I had to learn how to prepare some food for myself. So these are just regular lentils, but they're going to become elevated lentils when you put your medicine into the lentils.
Show the audience what your medicine is and explain what it is.
The medicine is what a lot of people refer to as cannabis, weed, several different names. They say it's a drug, but it's actually a plant. So
okay. Let me ask you this. How did it get into powder form? Because I know this is powder.
It's correct. It's a very good question. Because I'm not a paid nigga, I have to use what they call a trim or the throwaway. It's not the bud. This is not even bud. This is basically the scrap that people you cannot sell.
Right.
So this is where I come in, and this is what I use, and then I put it in a coffee grinder, and I grind it up really fine till it have like a phone ring consistency.
Hold that thought. I thought I turned that bitch off.
It's okay. Yep.
So I see you have cayenne, you have ginger, garlic, and salt. Now tell us about these just real briefly.
I don't really be real specific about how much cayenne pepper I put in, but I just kind of know, like most of y'all is cooking. The ginger, I put a little bit of that in there, and the salt I just have here. The garlic I can put a little bit of this. The salt I have here because people see that on the table, they think it's in the food. I don't use salt. I haven't used salt for some years.
So we can get rid of the damn salt.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Right.
It's good for aesthetics.
Right. But everybody don't like salt like you. You know, you said you haven't used it in years. Okay. So we're ready to get this going in the pot?
We are ready.
Okay then. Now, do you rinse them off?
I'm going to rinse these off.
Okay. So you rinse them and you squish them around it with your hands and then you put them in the pot. So go ahead, let's do that. I want to talk about broke nigga news, BNN. That's what you talk about a lot on your Facebook page. So tell us what exactly is BNN.
BNN is formerly known as broke nigga news. It's going to now be called broke in news because niggas are so sensitive about that word. The actual nigga word has more protection than actual niggas. The station came about because it's more broke niggas than Oprah Winfrey niggas. And nobody really speaks for the broke niggas, not intelligently. And broke nigga news, regardless of how it may sound, is an intelligent perspective on issues that are going on in today's. And it's not just talking about broke niggas, it's giving resolutions for broke and paid niggas because it's really only a thin line between a broke and a paid nigga. If you want to,
what you mean?
Well, if you want to know how thin the line is, just be driving and the police pull you over.
Oh, true that, because they can't tell the difference right off.
They don't really care.
Mm-hmm. They get the same treatment, basically.
Correct.
All right.
So what we're doing now, we're getting the medicine ready. We're going to put in 1 tablespoon per serving. So this is a half a tablespoon. I'm going to use 4 of these because I got 2 servings. You do that math.
Right.
I dropped out.
That's basic math.
Yeah, but I hope I'm right.
4 halves equals 2 tablespoons.
All right. See, I'm glad you're here today.
I think you've been sniffing some of this medicinal powder over here.
Not sniffing. Somebody said they saw me the other day and I was high. I said, let me ask you something, brother. If you can tell me of a day that you see me when I wasn't high,
right.
I want to know about it.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from Detroit? Did you grow up here?
I grew up here in Detroit, but I hesitate to say I'm from Detroit. I know I cannot be from Detroit to create all of these African things I create because Detroit is not an African city. There's a lot of Africans in Detroit, but I did not get my Africa from Detroit. So I hesitate to say I'm from Detroit, even though I was born here. Detroit does not represent me, so I don't really represent Detroit when I go overseas, when I go any place. I don't represent Detroit primarily. Mm-hmm. Somebody say your birthplace, that's Detroit, but...
What do you mean by Detroit doesn't represent you?
Well,
how do you feel?
I represent Africa because that's what I am. That's what I was born. I didn't know how to be American or try to be American until I went to school. And once I went to school, I had the perception that I was American, but once I take my black ass outside and get the treatment of a non-American, then I realized that that's not where I am. So now we're gonna put the flame on low and put the mixture here so it can cook slowly. I sometimes cook it fast. You can cook it fast, but I don't suggest it. Cook it slow, let it simmer. It take about maybe 10 minutes. Keep an eye on it because you don't want to burn it. As expensive as the medicine is today, sometimes I burn it and I still have to eat it. As far as the culture here in Detroit, the culture here in Detroit is largely European. If you look through the Metro Time, the Free Press, the Paid Press, whoever, it's all a European activity. Everywhere you look in Detroit, you see European things, European building, European architecture, everything. So when you see me, you see Africa, whether you want to see it or not. And a lot of black people especially have a problem with that. It's not really the white people. For a long time, I used to think that white people, crackers, was who holding black people back as far as us doing our thing, but that's not really the problem. The problem right now is that we are not showing our culture. If your culture is not visible, you get stepped on like an ant.
Because I think that has a lot to do with how we've been programmed.
For sure.
It just feels like when as a little child, everything that you saw regarding Africa was negative.
For sure.
And so it takes, a long time, like for me personally, it took me a long time to understand that. And I remember meeting you, maybe 13 years ago, and you was ahead of, you're a little bit older than me, but
sure.
right older than me, but no. But you were ahead of the game, and you were telling me, how basically, you asked me did I have any African clothes and all this stuff. So you challenged me to think about shit that I had never really thought about. And at the time, I didn't grasp it. I think that I really started grasping the concept of what it was to be African in America when I was probably in my mid-30s, to be honest with you.
I'm putting the lentils in. The water's hot now. Y'all know how to make lentils. Y'all ain't learning shit about making lentils from me today. I have all these amenities in my house. I usually use my hands. My fingers.
You don't have spoons?
I don't have no big spoon like this one.
Go to the dollar store.
Yeah. It's everything you don't want to buy at dollar store. You never buy condom at dollar store. You never buy light bulb at dollar store. Mm-hmm. Light bulb will blow up in your face, and the condom may just blow up. Period.
Why is it that everything that's associated with Africa is deemed negative?
Right.
What's up with that? What do you think about that, basically?
Well, as long as they can keep it perceived as negative, it's not something you're going to be trying to get.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, when you look at, if you Google right now Africa and African music, when you start talking to people about music, even black people, they say, oh, listen to all kind of music. They can say that all kind of music shit and not have no African music in their whole collection.
Right, true.
When you say who's the top singers, they can mention all the singers and not mention no African singers. So it's an intentional thing, but white folks they're not afraid of African culture.
No, usually the ones I know loved it.
that's the basis for everything that they're doing in African culture. So as long as they can keep you afraid of it, they can keep you away from it. All the horror movies you see masks. In the horror movie, somebody said that's a scary mask. I said, really? I want you to look at that mask and tell me what's scary about it.
Now tell me a little bit about the mask that you're wearing.
This mask is actually one of the masks that was part of my 100 mask exhibition that I did. I got a...
Oh, okay, the t-shirt.
Yeah,
okay,
I did a 100 mask exhibition over in the North End about 2 months ago. And this is one of the masks. These masks are a result of me being... relegated to street play here in the city of Detroit, and because of that I turned to making masks as another way of making money.
Right.
These masks are conversations that I'm having with my ancestors that nobody really should be privy to, but because I'm a broke nigga here in Detroit based on paid niggas keeping me from getting work. What I'm looking for with the medicine is a much darker color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when it gets really dark, I say it's getting dark brown, but I'm colorblind, so somebody said to me that it's not dark brown, Efe, it's still green. It's just, so I don't know. But you want it darker, you want it much darker. So
you feel like Detroiters keep other Detroiters from getting ahead?
Oh, basically. Without it, we'll be honest. If not, then who is? If it's not those in charge. When your entertainment is not reflective of your culture, that means the children and the adults are going to act like the entertainment. That's what we look to the entertainers to see how to dress. Right. We even listen to entertainers when they're talking in interviews as if they're saying something. You know, the artists, quote unquote artists, are supposed to be storytellers, and that's what these masks are doing. These masks are actually telling a story about what it's like to be broke and be at the top of your field. There's not a drummer ever touch a drum, play drums on the level of Efe Bes.